Ladies and gentlemen, let's get to work. Let's start solving some mysteries. And here is our English mystery of the week. And I'll
Hi, Teacher Paul. I'm Leandro from Brazil. I have an English mystery for you to solve. I keep seeing posts on social media with titles like Top Secrets to Think in English or Best Activities to Learn English or the 5 Best Tips to Understand English or even...
Oh, sorry guys, the video cut short. Let's try it again.
Hi, Teacher Paul. I'm Leandro from Brazil. I have an English mystery for you to solve. I keep seeing posts on social media with titles like Top Secrets to Think in English or Best Activities to Learn English or the 5 Best Tips to Understand English or even number 1 best method to make fluent. However, something about these titles feels weird to me. So my question is, am I right? Are these English expressions actually bad grammar? Or is it me that's weird?
Thank you, Leandro from Brazil, for that question. Very good question. I'm just going to check the chat, see if I missed anything, and then we'll get to our answer. Okay, so Leandro's asked a very interesting question. And I have to say, that kind of English expression that he's talking about, that I have here on the board, I've actually seen it a lot. I've seen it in Instagram posts. I've seen it in short video clips on TikTok. I've even seen it on English teacher YouTube thumbnails. Oh, sorry guys. I cannot see your name yet. I see Facebook user. I think it's because you're watching from inside a Facebook group. So I recommend jumping over to the Facebook page at The Grammar Detective. Check that out. Or the YouTube channel at The Grammar Detective. Okay? Because I don't see your name. Okay, guys. So yeah, this is a very interesting topic because these expressions are everywhere. People are posting them, and I've seen them a lot in thumbnails, YouTube posters, right? The thumbnail you see in your feed, or Instagram. And Leandro is a very advanced English learner, I think. His English is very fluent and very proficient. And he's had a good English education, even though he's from Brazil. So I think Leandro is sensing that there's something strange about these expressions. Now, he's not sure what, but he wants to know, first of all, are they accurate English or are they not? And it's interesting because he's not a native speaker. And he's seen these in posts and posters and thumbnails, even by native English speakers. So I love the fact that Leandro is trusting his instinct, even though this English might have been posted by a native speaker, he's challenging it. And that's important because here's a fact, guys. Not all native English speakers use perfect grammar. Okay, even if they're on TV, even if they're in movies, even if they're a live streamer, even if they post lots of YouTube content, even if their YouTube channel has 5 million subscribers, that does not mean their grammar is perfect. So you should always trust your feeling and challenge the language that you see. That's one way to learn. That's part of the learning process. You take the knowledge that you have, that you've learned, and you try to notice how it compares to the English you see out there in the world. Okay? That's really important to do. Now, Leandro has done this, and he's seen these examples, some of which are by English native English speakers, and he's wondering, he thinks they might be problematic or strange or weird. Let's look at them. The top secrets to think in English. Best activities to learn English. The 5 best tips to understand English. The ~1 best method to make fluent. Now, the way I've got them arranged here, I've tried to show that they all share a similar structure, and we can kind of see it. And I want to examine this structure because it's going to lead us to the answer for Leandro, whether or not this is good English or bad English. Is it accurate grammar or not? Okay? So as I always like to suggest, identify the parts that you see. Okay? What kind of words are they? What kind of structure are we looking at? So what do we have here? The top secrets. Well, this is an article or a determiner. Top is an adjective. Secrets is clearly a noun. To think is an infinitive verb. Okay? And then we have a preposition phrase here. And for those of you who aren't sure what a phrase is a group of words that are not a complete thought. And usually they don't have a verb, although verbs can have a phrase too. A phrase is not a complete meaning, and it doesn't make sense if you say it alone. For example, if I said, the red marker in my hand. The red marker in my hand. That's not a complete idea. Even though it has an adjective, red, marker is a noun, it has a prepositional phrase saying where it is, it's not a complete idea. Until I say something like, I have a red marker in my hand. Then it's a complete idea, it's a complete sentence. If you guys have questions, I will get to them after I break down Leandro's question too. So please think about your questions and put them in the comment thread, but give me some time to loop back, okay? So we have an article, an adjective, a noun, infinitive verb, and a preposition phrase. Let's compare that to the next one. We have an adjective. We have another noun. We have the infinitive verb, and we have just another noun, English. How about this one? We have article, we have a number, best tips, that's an adjective, noun, and then we have the infinitive verb again, and we have English. Start to see the similarity, right? The best. Best is a superlative adjective. Method is a noun. Then we have the infinitive verb. And then we have fluent. Fluent is an adjective. Fluent speaker, fluent man, fluent woman, okay? So this is an adjective. So if we step back and see what is similar here, what do we have? We have nouns, that's similar. We have adjectives and determiners and articles here, that's sort of similar. But the real similarity is the noun, then the infinitive, and then a noun, adjective, or preposition phrase. So the real common feature is this noun plus infinitive. They all have infinitive, they all have noun. What's missing? You tell me. What do you think is missing from these structures? Can anyone see it? What do we not have in these examples? We have adjectives, we have articles, we have nouns, we have infinitive verb, we have other nouns. What do we not have? Put it in the comment thread if you can see. What is not in these expressions? What's missing? We have a classic case of missing words. This is a real English mystery. These are missing words mystery. Something is missing. Any ideas, guys? What's missing from these expressions? What word or what kind of word is missing from these expressions? Any thoughts? There's a little delay with the internet. Okay, got some good ideas. What is missing? Okay, good, good. What does every sentence need? What does every sentence need? Yeah. Every sentence needs a verb. It needs a main verb, a finite verb, a verb that expresses tense. To be more precise, every sentence or clause needs a subject. Subjects are usually nouns like Paul, and you need a verb. And the verb has a job to do, which is to express tense. For example, Paul ate pizza. That's a complete idea. None of these have verbs. They don't have a main verb or a finite verb with tense. They have an infinitive verb. But infinitive verb is like the mathematical or scientific symbol infinity. Infinity means endless or out of time. The infinitive verb doesn't express the tense. The infinitive verb cannot be your main verb, okay, in a sentence. You need another verb. You need a main verb that's not in the infinitive form. And these sentences don't have it. So guess what? They're not sentences. If they don't have a main verb with tense, and it can be present tense, past or future, if they don't have a main verb, they are not sentences. They're not clauses. They're not a complete idea. Okay? Instead, they are phrases. Now, can we use phrases? Of course we can. I think what we have here, because of where Leandro found them, he found them in posts. He found them in thumbnails. So often, thumbnails use a special kind of phrasing called headlineese. So I'm going to break out a little graphic here, guys, to illustrate this. What is headlineese? Well, you guys might be too young for this, but in the old days we had newspapers. And in newspapers they had to print all these words on paper. And they cost a lot of money to make. In fact, every letter, every word costs money to print. So they developed a language that did two things. One, it saved money. And two, it caught your attention because of the strange phrasing. This was called headlineese or headline language. And one of the structures they developed was dropping articles like the or a, dropping main verbs, and just using noun phrases. Okay? But another interesting technique they developed was using infinitives to express the future. So if you saw a newspaper or even an online magazine or newspaper nowadays, you might see governor to sign new bill. Well, that's pointing to the future. The longer version would be Canada's governor is going to sign new bill. Or Disney to release new film in the future. So the long version of that, the proper sentence version would be Disney company is going to release a new film. But they drop a lot of words to save cost and to make it more compact, which saves cost, and to grab your attention. Or temperatures to increase next month. That's clearly talking about the future. Temperatures are going to increase next month. So this is a technique. It's an idiom style. It's an idiomatic style. So it's unusual. It's not technically perfect grammar, but it's used in a certain context. Headlines, newspaper headlines. Or, in the contemporary version, YouTube headlines. So these are headlines from a YouTube thumbnail or a social media post. That's where Leandro found them. So they're using headline language. But Leandro's question really is, are they using headline language correctly, accurately? I think they're not. Okay, and I'll show you why in a moment. I think these are trying to use headlines, but they're not doing it accurately. And I'd like to demonstrate why that is the case. So, as we've mentioned, these are not complete sentences. They are phrases. They are chunks of a sentence. Just like the pink sheet that I showed you. Governor to sign new bill. That's a short headline version of a longer sentence which would say something like, Canada's governor is going to sign a new bill. But they've dropped a lot of words to make it compact. So to understand the grammar of this headline, we could stretch it out into a full sentence that has the full meaning. Let's do that with Leandro's example. So we know there's a verb missing in all of these. They have the infinitive, but the infinitive doesn't express tense, right? For example, I could say, Paul wants to eat pizza. Or yesterday, Paul wanted to eat pizza. The to eat never changes. It's infinitive verb. It's out of time. It's got nothing to do with tense. The main verb, want, expresses the tense. It's the finite verb. Paul wanted to eat pizza yesterday. Tomorrow, Paul is going to want. To want doesn't change. So we need a verb here. So what's the right verb? If we were to stretch this idea out, what would be the verb? Well, I have an idea. I think headlines like this, if you're scrolling on YouTube and you see a thumbnail poster with one of these, what are they offering to you? Are they trying to tell you that this is the future? Governor to sign new bill in the future? Temperatures to rise next month? That's the future. Are these pointing to the future? They're not. And in headline language, when you use infinitive, you're supposed to be pointing to the future. These are not. So what are these doing? I believe these are presenting something. They're offering something, right? These are thumbnails on YouTube or Instagram, and they're trying to catch your attention because if you watch the video, you will learn the top secrets, or you will see the best activities, or you will learn the best tips or best method. So they're offering this to you. So what sentence structure do we use when we're offering something? Well, we might say something like, here is, or here are, or this is, right? That's how we might structure an offering. So if we expand these into sentences, we might have something like that. Let's try it. Here are the top secrets to think in English. These are the best activities to learn English. How about here are the 5 best tips to understand English? Or how about this is the #1 best method to make fluent? Okay? And then what do we have here? Now we have a verb, are, or is. Okay? And then we have a subject. Here, these, this. Now we have a complete sentence. We have a subject. We have a main verb. And then we have the thing that's being offered. So is this an object? Not really, because this sentence structure is a little weird. These are subjects. They're in the subject position. But we might think of these as dummy subjects. They're just holding the place of the subject, but they're pointing to the true subject. What's the true subject? Well, the true subject is on the other side of the be verb. This is the true subject, specifically the noun. So this is the true subject, right? It's like saying, this is my pen. What is this? Well, this is my pen. When you use a be verb, it's like this equal sign in math. This is the same as pen. I'm introducing the pen, but I want the word pen on this side of the be verb, right? Not over here. It's a way to introduce something. Ladies and gentlemen, here is the pen. Well, what's the subject? Here? No, the pen. That's what we have here. We have an introductory sentence, okay? It's not the end of the story, though. It gets a little bit stranger. So now we've expanded these sentences out. Now they're not phrases, now they're sentences. We have a dummy subject, or sometimes called an empty subject, because it doesn't have a real meaning. The meaning's over here. This is the true subject. Secrets, activities, tips, method, because these are nouns. So far, so good. Now we have complete sentences so we can see the full meaning, the full idea. Okay? Now, are they perfect? No. And here's the problem. Now that we can see the full sentence structure, the full meaning, I think we can see the problem. Okay. It's important that these are all using be verbs. Okay? Be verb is not an action. Be verb expresses existence. And it can connect a subject to a complement, right? Paul is happy. Happy is describing Paul, right? It's describing the subject. That's an adjective complement. Paul is a teacher. Paul equals teacher. Same, right? When we have a be verb, what's on the other side is the subject, if you have one of these. Subjects are usually nouns. Subjects are usually nouns. It is possible to use an infinitive verb as a subject. For example, to study English is wonderful. Okay, it's possible, but it's a little old-fashioned, a little bit strange or marked. Okay? We don't usually use infinitive verb as a subject. Most of the time, 95% of the time, a subject is a noun. Paul is happy. Paul is a noun. My pen is blue. Pen's a noun, right? The weather is nice. Weather is a noun. Okay? So, subjects are usually nouns. And over here, we have subjects. Here's the trick. The top secrets to think in English. This whole thing is the subject. Because if we don't have this information, if we only have this subject, here are the top secrets. What kind of top secrets? It's not a complete detail, right? If we only have this, these are the best activities. Activities to do what? Here are the 5 best tips. What kind of tips? This is the #1 best method. The idea is not complete. We need more information. In fact, we need purpose. And we can express purpose with infinitive verbs like, I came to Canada. Why? To study. Okay? We can express infinitives. We can use infinitives to express purpose. The problem here is that this whole thing is the subject. And subjects can be either nouns like my pen is red, Paul is happy. Subjects can be nouns. They can be infinitives. Subjects can be infinitives, right? To study English is very difficult. But here's what they cannot be. A subject cannot be a noun and an infinitive. Can't mix them. If your subject is a noun, everything in that phrase has to be a noun. If the subject is a verb or an infinitive, everything in that has to be verbal. Has to be one or the other. What do we have here? We have a mix. We have a noun and an infinitive. We have a noun and an infinitive. Okay? But these are the subjects. We can't mix them. And that's the problem with these sentences. These are introducing nouns, and these are modifiers. These are actually what we call post modifiers. a post modifier. A post modifier is a word or group of words that describes a noun phrase, noun or two or three nouns, or limits its meaning in some way and is placed after it. Post means after. So a post modifier describes or completes the idea of a noun or a noun phrase. And guess what's happening in our examples? We have a noun, and post or after the noun, we have information telling us the purpose of the noun. The top secrets, what kind, for what purpose? To think in English. So these are post modifiers describing or completing the idea of secrets. Problem is they're infinitive form. And this is a noun, so this has to be a noun form so that the whole subject is a noun. Best activities. For what purpose? What kind of activities? To learn English. That's the purpose. Problem is that we're expressing it with an infinitive verb, and so you're breaking the pattern of noun phrase. Here, the 5 best tips. What kind of tips? To understand English. Tips is being modified by this idea. It's telling us the purpose of tips or the kind of tips. Problem is, it's infinitive. Here we have method. What kind of method? Method to make fluent. Infinitive. So all of these have to be noun phrases. Okay? Now, how do we change that? How do we change the post modifier? There's a couple ways. The whole thing, the whole subject has to be a noun or a noun phrase, a collection of nouns, so that the whole subject here is a noun form, continuous form of nouns. We can use nouns like activity secret, but we can also use gerunds because gerunds are nouns. Okay? So I want to suggest this. The top secrets to think in English. Let's get rid of the infinitive, and let's use thinking. Thinking. Now we have a gerund, which is a noun. So that's helpful. That's a gerund noun. The problem is we have noun and noun, and we shouldn't put nouns together like that. We have to connect them with prepositions. Prepositions connect nouns. So let's get our preposition of purpose. For tells us purpose. It connects the purpose noun. This pen is for what? The pen is for the board, right? That book is for studying. Now we have the top secrets for thinking in English. Now we have noun and noun. We have a complete noun phrase. That's a good subject. Here, the best activities to learn. Nope. Let's get rid of that. For. See if you can follow, guys. What would come next? For learning. Right? Let's get rid of the infinitive. Now we have prep, gerund, noun. Now the phrase is the best activities for learning English. Everything's a noun form in there. This is a noun phrase now, and it's the subject of this larger idea. That works. The 5 best tips. What's the purpose of those tips? Well, they are for understand what? Understanding. Understanding. For understanding English. Now we have the 5 best tips is a noun phrase. For understanding English is a noun phrase. Everything here is a noun. The whole thing is a noun phrase. One giant noun phrase acting as the subject of this larger idea. That's good. The number 1 best method to make fluent. No, we want to get rid of that. We want to put a gerund here. Now we have preposition, gerund noun. We have an adjective here though, so it's a little bit weird because for making fluent is strange, right? We don't make fluent. We might make fluency. Fluency is a noun. but instead we're going to make you fluent. The number one best method for making you fluent. That works. So look what we have now, guys. We have all noun phrases, all noun phrases, all noun phrases, all noun phrases. So we have a noun phrase acting as the subject. We don't have a mix of nouns and infinitives. So this works, okay? And it completes this larger idea of, here are the top secrets for thinking in English. These are the best activities for learning English. Here are the 5 best tips for understanding English. This is the number one best method for making you fluent. So we don't have to say this, right? This is the great thing about headline language. We don't need to say this if we want to save words. We don't need to say this. Now we have headlines that are nice and short, perfect for a YouTube thumbnail or a social media post on Instagram or TikTok. But now we have the correct form. We have noun phrases, noun phrases, noun phrases. And the other reason for this is quite simple. When we have a sentence like this is, or these are, have you ever said something like, these are to study? This is to eat. No. Usually, when we have a be verb, on the other side of the be verb, not infinitives. Subject, be verb. Usually we have an object. Usually we have a noun. These are pens. I am Paul. She is a teacher. Right? Usually when we have a be verb, on the other side are nouns. And that's what we have here. We have these are the top secrets for thinking English. The whole thing's a noun. These are the best activities for learning English. Everything here is a noun, basically. These are, here are, the 5 best tips for understanding English. Noun phrase. Subject, be verb, noun phrase. Say that with me. Subject, be verb, plus noun phrase. No infinitives in a noun phrase. Subject, be verb, noun phrase, no infinitives. Subject, be verb, noun phrase, no infinitives. Infinitive doesn't belong in a noun phrase. Okay? What do you think of this, guys? Tell me your thoughts. See, something like this, guys, they're the best activities to learn English. It sounds like the activities learn, right? It's a different idea. Okay, someone says they're using headlines to have some breaking news with the shortest forms as much as possible. Yes, exactly. Because news costs money. Text costs money. In a newspaper or even online, every letter you use costs money. Right? And they want to catch your attention quickly. So the shorter, the better. Any questions about this, guys? Any thoughts, any questions? Does this make sense to you guys? Subject, be verb, noun phrase. Subject, be verb, noun phrase. Not subject, be verb, infinitive. Can you think of an example where we have subject, be verb, infinitive? I can't. Can't think of an infinitive phrase after a be verb. It's possible after an action verb, right? She wants to eat. That's fine, right? She wants the action. She wants to do something. That's an action verb. Be verb is something very different, right? If we say, this is something, this is a cloth, this is a pen. I wouldn't say, this is to write. That doesn't quite work, right? Because this is a subject, and a subject is usually a noun. So on the other side of the be verb should be a noun. And that was the problem here. We had infinitive verbs mixed up in the noun phrase. So it broke the idea of all of this being a noun. Now we have noun forms all through it. So now we have the pattern of subject, be verb, noun phrase. Right? Is that clear for you guys? Any questions? If you don't have questions, I think what I'll do is I'll introduce our book of the day. Subject, be verb, noun phrase. Subject, be verb, noun phrase, or noun. Okay, good. This is a nice example. We have the word way here. Way is a little bit different. It's an unusual word because it's not an object, it's a method. And so often with way, we can use the infinitive verb after it. But you'll notice that we do have a noun. This is a way. This is a way to cook our food. Okay? So we have the pattern of subject, be verb, noun, and then we have the infinitive verb. I think this is an exception. I think there aren't many examples where we can have subject, be verb, infinitive directly, right? But a way is a noun grammatically, but it's an abstract noun, right? It's an idea, it's a concept. But great example. Anyone else have questions? Okay then. To finish up, guys, what I'd like to do is introduce to you a nice grammar book that I recommend to you. So this is a little segment I like to call Okay, so from my bookshelf, and although you can't see it, this live show is filmed right in my home studio, and on that side and on that side are bookshelves. So I have lots of bookshelves. And in fact, this whiteboard is mounted on my bookshelf. So there are more bookshelves on the other side of it. So, for example, I could reach over here and pull a book down. This one's in my hand already, but there are books everywhere in here. And, you know, as you've seen before, there are sometimes rabbits, penguins, right? Mr. Potato Head sometimes shows up. Occasionally, all kinds of strange stuff. Occasionally, Japanese superheroes, Ultraman. Lots of different characters show up around here. Anyway, today's book is called Common Errors in English. It's published by Collins, who also make a popular dictionary. This says, Your Essential Guide to Accurate English. And you notice how small it is. And that's kind of good because it usually means it's not very expensive. And I believe this book right now is selling for around $10, $15 maybe? I can't remember. But I love the way it's laid out. Hopefully you can see that. It has different categories of errors and examples and brief explanations, simple explanations about why it doesn't work. I got this book about 10 years ago, and I have to admit, it's not as comprehensive as some of the other books I've introduced. It doesn't contain as much information as I like, but I'm a teacher. If you're a language learner, I think this is an excellent book because it's not too complicated. It's not too detailed. So it's very easy to grasp. And you can actually look in the contents and look up the categories. So if you want to learn more about a noun error, like we've just looked at, noun phrase errors, you can go right to that chapter about common noun errors. And these are common errors. These are errors that language learners commonly make. And that native English speakers commonly make. So I highly recommend this book if you want a small, inexpensive, but very useful English grammar book. Okay? Common Errors in English, Your Essential Guide to Accurate English, published by Collins. Okay? Great book. Okay, we have a little comment here from Facebook user. Please answer my questions above. People usually say, I'm too much busy and the price is more higher. So these are not correct. So I'll clear the board and give you an answer. Give me a moment. Clearing the board. Okay. Excellent examples and an excellent question about a common problem. One of the things that happens with language learners, I think, is as they get more and more knowledge, they add words to sentences because they start, when you're a beginner, you're starting with very simple basic sentences. And as you get more advanced, you add more vocabulary, make the sentence more complex. Sometimes you go too far and add words you don't need. So this is an example of that. I'm too much busy. Okay, let's get rid of those. And the other one is, the price is more higher. Okay, the first example, I'm too much busy. When we use too, so we have our subject and a verb, and we have an adjective. This adjective is describing the sentence. The person is busy. I am busy. Okay? Now, we can take an adjective and modify it. We can add information about busy. Too tells us how busy you are. And too usually turns an adjective into negative. For example, I can say, my cup is full of water. Right? And that's good. I'm happy to have lots of water. If I say it's too full, it turns it into negative. Now the water is coming out and making a mess of my studio floor. It's a problem now. Too full is not good. Full is good. Too full is not good. So if you say I am too busy, that means like being busy is good. It's healthy. It's productive. But if you're too busy, it means you're so busy you can't do something. If your friend invites you to dinner, hey, come to dinner. I'm sorry, I'm too busy, right? Too busy. You don't actually need this. I'm too busy. I can't do something. That's a problem. That makes busy, being productive and busy is good. But if you're too busy, it's a problem because you cannot do other things. So this is the correct sentence. Now, you can also say, I am much too busy. So now you have too busy, it's a problem, but now you're adding extra emphasis. You're much too busy, far too busy is another way of saying that. Like intensely too busy. So I'm not just too busy, I'm super too busy, okay? So, but saying you're too busy is fine. That's enough, right? Now down here we can say the price is more higher. Now notice that higher is a comparative adjective. Higher than something else is the complete idea. Let's say higher than last year, right? I think we did this before on this show. We said this rabbit is larger. If I say this rabbit is larger than what? we need to compare a second noun, a second rabbit. Then we can say this rabbit is larger than this rabbit. This rabbit is shorter or smaller than this rabbit, right? This rabbit is whiter than this rabbit, which is kind of yellow, okay? Now, this rabbit is much larger than this one, much larger, a big difference, okay? We can also say this rabbit is smaller than Paul. But this rabbit is, the difference between the rabbit and Paul is really large. So we could say this rabbit is much smaller than Paul to increase the difference, to emphasize the difference, okay? But if you say higher, that you need this second idea. Sometimes you don't need to say it, but it has to be clear from the context, from the conversation. But more is also a comparative, right? We don't want to use it with another comparative. We use more if we have adjective, comparative, if we have adjectives that are like several syllables, like expensive, we can't say expensiver. Instead, we add this comparative, more expensive than the other one, right? This rabbit is bigger than this rabbit. So if you buy these at a store, you might find that this rabbit is more expensive than this rabbit. Okay? What you don't want to do is use more with higher. Higher is already a comparative. More is a comparative, but it's for these kind of words, expensive or incredible or something like that. Okay? So the price is higher, or the price is much higher. Like I am much taller than the rabbit. Okay, so that's good. The price is much higher than last year. The rabbit is more expensive. Or the rabbit is far more. Or even much more. Okay? To emphasize, increase. So that's a good question. So can I say the price is much higher? Yes, absolutely. Can I say thank you so very much? Yes, you can say that. Now, you said, I still don't know your name, Facebook user, but you said look at my questions above. So I'm going to go scroll and see what I missed. I have heard that they say, I'm very much busy. The price is more higher. Well, if somebody said the price is more higher, they're just using bad grammar. More higher is bad grammar. If they said, I'm very much busy, it's possible to say that. But it's kind of weak grammar because very much sounds like they need a better intensifier. Very much doesn't really tell me how much. So if you want to intensify busy, I'm busy. I'm extremely busy. I'm not so busy. I'm incredibly busy. I'm terribly busy. I'm definitely busy. Use an adverb to intensify busy, right? Adverbs can intensify an adjective like busy. Okay, so hopefully that clarifies. Okay, this is another question that's very important for the infinitives. I'm glad you brought this up. I was kind of hoping someone would notice this. Okay, so this is a pen for writing. So that follows the pattern we said earlier, right? We have subject, be verb, and then noun, phrase, right? So this is a top tip for learning. So that's fine. This other example. This is a pen to write. Okay, there's a problem with that. This is a pen to write. So you write pens? No. Sorry, guys. This is not complete because you can't say a pen is to write. That sounds like the pen writes. Pen doesn't write. You write with a pen. So you could say this is a pen to write with, right? Because you write with a pen. So this is a pen to write with, or this is a pen with which to write. Now that's possible, right? Or this is a tip to study. If you said this is a tip to study, that means you're studying the tip. This is not a tip for the purpose of studying. That's different. So you'd have to say this is a tip to study with, right? You study with that tip. That's the problem with infinitives. Sometimes it can mean that this noun does this action. Well, how does a tip study? It doesn't have a brain. You study with that tip. So when we have this structure of subject, be verb, noun phrase, and the noun is showing the purpose of the pen is for writing. The infinitive verb doesn't quite do that. Not with a be verb, right? If I say, I traveled to Venezuela. Why, Paul? Why did you travel? I traveled to study Spanish, right? The infinitive does tell us the purpose for that action. It doesn't work the same way with be verbs. We have a subject, be verb, and then the object pen. This is a pen. What's the purpose of the pen? We need a noun phrase because the whole thing has to be a noun, right? So that's an excellent question. We have on the spot language from Toronto, Anish. Thank you for joining us, Anish. Yes, great questions today. Anyone else have a question? Thank you for offering to promote the channel. Funny. Just going to go ahead and block you because I don't like our show to be interrupted by marketers. Marketers are important. They have an important job to do, but not during our show. The show is about grammar. So I like to keep the comments focused on grammar because I have a feeling that during the rest of the week, you guys don't think too much about grammar. So this show is a time to focus on grammar. Once a week. Okay? Well, guys, according to my timer, my camera is about to explode. So I think perhaps it's time to say goodnight. So I'd like to thank you very much for joining me here on Hard Boiled English Live. We have a question here. When does your class start? 1 hour ago. So wherever you are in the world, it's 3 p.m. Pacific time, PST, every week. So where's my graphic? Fridays at 3 p.m. Okay, Fridays at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Okay, that's Vancouver and Los Angeles time. 3 p.m. So it's Saturday. That's Saturday morning in Asia. Middle East, I think, is Saturday morning as well. For Europe, it's late Friday night. And for North America and South America, it's Friday evening. So, Abir, wherever you are, I can't remember, you've been on the show before and told me where you're from, but I can't remember. But I believe it's Saturday morning if you're in the Middle East. Okay, Bangladesh, Pakistan, it's going to be Saturday morning, so you'll have to check the time. 3 p.m. Pacific. Yeah, Abir, Bangladesh, yeah. So if you'll wait, I can check. My time converter. You guys should have one. You're young, you're technology able. Get yourself a time converter app. So I'm going to put in Bangladesh. Bangladesh. And the show starts at 3 p.m. my time, and I'm going to convert that. 1 a.m. Abir, 1 a.m. My show starts at 1 a.m. your time. That's late. But you're young, you can stay up all night watching my show, no problem. Or, as everyone already knows, I believe, this recording, I will record this show and I post it on the YouTube channel Saturday morning. So you can review it if you want, if you have missed it. Okay? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time to move on. Oh yes, thank you, On the Spot Language. We are in the process of planning a 2-hour special Christmas show with a little bit of board work, some guests, some music, some Christmas festivities, maybe some games, okay? So stay tuned, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed to the channel at The Grammar Detective, okay? And then you'll get the updates of when the Christmas special is coming. We've had some good, fun 2-hour specials in the past with some great guests, and some of them will be coming back. I know we haven't had a lot of guests on the show recently, but they're coming in the new year. I wanted to take a small break from that and catch up on all the fascinating English mysteries that you have given me. So again, if you want an English mystery answered, please send me a video. Send me a video clip of you asking the question. 1-minute video, use your phone, easy peasy. Okay? And I'll build the show around it. Thank you, Anish. Have a great weekend yourself. Whatever you're doing, enjoy it, please. Where am I? Okay, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to go. So I think we've answered Leandro from Brazil's English mystery tonight. I think we can safely say, case closed. Okay? Thank you for joining me this evening. It's been an honor, pleasure, and privilege to help you understand grammar better. We'll be back next Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time, or as we've just learned, 1 a.m. in Bangladesh time, and maybe countries around that area, same time. Thank you so much for joining me here every week. It's been great to be with you. Until the next time I see you, I want you to keep learning English. I want you to take care of your health. And as always, I want you to stay cool. Thanks for watching tonight's show. If you have an English grammar question, an English mystery, contact me on social media and send me a video of you asking the question. I'll investigate it on a future show. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell button to get all the updates about videos and events. If you're feeling generous, you can also donate to the production costs of the show at Patreon or Buy Me a Coffee. Finally, until the next time I see you on Hardboiled English Live, I want you to keep learning English. Stay healthy and stay cool.